Second part of a double-header at Mount Maunganui, spread over 3 days. And this time around, of course, we're going to have New Zealand winning the toss and batting first here on Cricbuzz Live. We'll try and make a sense of all of it. But right at the top, I think the team news is what's going to be a talking point. One was the expected bit of team news, but the other, of course, is that we've got one MS in and one MS out. And I'm going to get ZK and HP to talk about that in the studio. Right at the top, yes, we were expecting New Zealand's MS to, of course, come in. That's Mitch Santner, the second spinner. But the other MS out from India's point of view, obviously there's a bit of a niggle. So one way or the other, DK gets an opportunity.
The CSK fans will say it doesn't matter. One CSK player comes in, one CSK player goes out. But this is India, yes. The hamstring niggle, so it's best not to play him because you don't want to. It's a long season for Dhoni. He's not the youngest. So I can understand that. It's an opportunity for Karthik. Remember we were talking the other day? I don't know which order they'll bat, and he comes in a run chase on a slow deck. But Hardik Pandya being back, you could almost see on Kohli's face, he's just happy to have Hardik Pandya back.
That was the expected change, but the big thing to see for Hardik Pandya, given how much cricket he hasn't played since September, will be the talking point, and will, from his own point of view, will be important.
It will be, I think, all the eyes will be on Hardik Pandya for sure. He will be feeling the heat as well, because it's not easy when you have injury layoff and then, some things which are not in your control in a way. Once what he did, the mistakes and the learnings, he'll have to imply everything now. He certainly has got this lifeline now and the opportunity to go out there and just speak with his game now. End of the day, for a player, it's very important that that you just keep in present. It's so easy to just sway down by and bog down by the whole pressures of it. But knowing Hardik Pandya, I think he will be up for the challenge. Virat will be very happy for sure, to have him, because you've seen in the previous games as well when Vijay Shankar was playing, he was used in a very, very conservative manner, I would say. Like, that only particular phase you have to use him. But now with Hardik around, he's bowled with the new ball also. He's bowled in the power play. He's bowled in the middle overs. He can do that job in the death overs as well. So that's something Virat will be happy with in terms of just freedom of stacking up those overs rather than just being concerned about seeing off a particular phase.
Slowish track. So it'll help Hardik Pandya that there won't be pressure on him to bowl 10 overs straight away on his return.
Also, just to add to that, the very fact that India are bowling first means that his first outing will be with 10 others around the field, and he can just ease into a comeback rather than having to walk out to bat maybe in the 43rd over with runs needed.
So he'll probably get the ball inside the first 10 overs, but he knows that Kedar Jadhav will be expected to bowl at least 5 overs today. And on the slowish surface, maybe even more, depending on how he goes. So there's no pressure on him straight away to bowl 10 overs. So he's almost getting eased in, and we'll see how the run chase goes. I won't be surprised today if New Zealand make a conservative start. Those 10 overs that he's bowled 11 times. I think you will find that of those 42 games that he's played, if you pick the last 25 or so, then he'll have bowled 10 overs more often. When he had the injury, he had reached a stage where he's bowling 10 overs.
So that's I think again going to be a factor, as you said. I think the key is going to be Vijay Shankar was, as I said, not really a go-to bowler, but he was like, okay, we need to add up these overs and therefore go to you. We did mention first 2 ODIs, because of the way it went for India, they didn't really need to use the full 10 overs from that quota. This time around, possibly there will be a situation where they'll play 50 overs. We hope.
I think hopefully. Yeah, because New Zealand team is looking good on paper for sure. They certainly have the capabilities. It's just that they need to get that confidence going. But as far as Hardik is concerned, I think in these 42 matches which you've seen him play for India, there's been investment of sorts as well. When initially Hardik was playing ODIs, he was not bowling full quota of overs, but team management backed him. They identified that how it affects the balance of the team. To have that strength in your playing 11, so that you can have 2 wrist spinners also playing. You can have some power also at the back end, which Dooley always talks about, that 7, 8, 9 numbers. I think that's something has done with a long-term vision. The way Hardik has responded, and those numbers are suggestive of that fact that in the last 20 odd games, he's been a bowler who you can bank on in terms of bowling at least 8 overs, if not 10, and that's something really changes the balance. And even on a flatter track, you will have a support of a sixth bowler. But then that between Hardik and the sixth bowler, you'll be able to complete those fifth bowling overs in a better way.
Now, despite everything else that was spoken about at the toss to Virat Kohli, there was a question obviously put in about the two wrist spinners playing away from home, and that's the first thing he acknowledged. Once again, they will be a factor, though we know as we go deeper into the series, Kuldeep Yadav, yes, always effective, but as you get to pick him, the numbers will come down.
They have so far.
They have so far.
They have so far. Those are very interesting numbers. First 3 games, look at the bowling average, 17 versus 25, and therefore the strike rate as a consequence, the economy rate actually gets better. What that tells me is that people are playing him more conservatively. They're not trying to attack him, so the economy rate is coming down, but they're not getting out to him. So, I mean, you take average 25 economy rate, 4.6. He's still getting a wicket every 33 balls. So, if he has to bowl 60, he's still getting about 1.5, 1.6 wickets, which is fantastic. And the economy rate of 4.6. So, even the numbers on the right are good, but they're telling you that as the series goes along, people are actually playing him more conservatively. So, that's one thing to watch out today. How will New Zealand play Kuldeep Yadav today?
And of course, again, coming back to this whole build-up to the World Cup, the difference will be that there's for any team playing, say, a Kuldeep Yadav on that stage, it'll just be that one chance to play him, and maybe once again if you reach the knockout stage.
See, with any spinner who has created that kind of impact on the game at the highest level, you've seen that, especially in spinners' case, the teams start looking at that particular bowler in a very conservative fashion, and they start kind of analyzing the numbers as well, like how we are analyzing here, saying, okay, if Kuldeep doesn't take wickets, what kind of impact it will have at the back end of the innings. So let's just look at it in that fashion. Even if we score 5-10 runs less, we have to make up those runs from remaining 4 bowlers, and then who we can target. Because slowly, all the batting units will start approaching to kind of negate Kuldeep's impact on the game in that fashion. The good news for Indian team, that's why and everyone has been talking about it. Those two wrist spinner. So when you have 2 or 3 bowlers like that in the side, who are you going to target? Then your options are getting limited, and that's why actually the success has been coming because you in a way feel stuck when you have Bumrah playing or Shami bowling the way he is bowling. You're creating that impact. You have 3 bowlers, then you're left with those 20 overs to go after bowling, which is not always going to be easy. So going forward as well, I think from India's bowling point of view, it's very important that they stick to these kind of plans and how Kuldeep adapts. That's also going to be interesting because when teams start playing you in a particular manner, you have to come up with something. You have to come up with something new which can have the similar kind of impact. Like maybe that means having more fielder in the ring to save those singles, to make sure that you have to play that big shot. That's something which Kuldeep has to figure out as he's going forward.
There's 2 ways this Kuldeep Chahal factor can affect the batting. Either they can say, look, we have to play those 2 conservatively, so let's go hard at the top.
Yeah.
And let's have runs on the board already when the spinners are coming on. Or they can say, look, we're losing wickets at front, at the top, which is what is making the wrist spinners even more effective. So let's play conservatively and have wickets in hand when they come. So I'd be interested in seeing whether they go hard to up the run rate to counter against playing Kuldeep and Chahal, or keep wickets in hand and go conservatively up front. Because don't forget, those 2 wickets in the first 10 overs are making a big impact in the game.
One more factor about Kuldeep Yadav. I know we talked about Shikhar Dhawan being the boss of a multi-nation tournament. He has never played an ICC event yet, and his first one will be the biggest one of them all.
And there's 9 games, so it's actually good. I like this. I like this World Cup format. It's very hard on the associates, but you're getting 9 games, so teams have the time to course correct as they go along.
But I just mean from Kuldeep's point of view. I mean, will he feel that step up to the fact that it's suddenly such a big stage and he's never?
It is, but he's playing different teams every day. He's not playing the same team 6 times, which is the point we discussed that day.
Let's talk also about the middle overs. I know we are going to talk more in detail when India come out to bat. They're going to be chasing, of course, today at Mount Maunganui. But there is a factor that we've constantly talked about, and I think it's worth looking at right now, even though India will be bowling first, and that's the whole batting in the middle overs. And if you just compare sides, we talk about, this is from post the ICC World Cup in 2015, and India second to England in that middle over phase, and that is something I think they'll need to keep an eye on. Virat Kohli's spoken about it, we've spoken about it here, and you know, we know the impact that Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan are having at the top. It's what you do to consolidate in those middle overs, keep the dot balls to a minimum.
In isolation, that doesn't look too bad, 5.49. It doesn't look too bad, and it's not too different between teams 2, 3 and 4. We're in 5.49, 5.41, 5.40. It's not a big difference. So in isolation, it doesn't look bad. But it's interesting that Virat Kohli said in the post-match presentation after Game 2 in Mount Maunganui, he said that at the toss today, that he thinks he needs more runs in the middle overs. So he is concerned at the fact that those middle overs are not giving him as many runs. He said they were 15, 20 short the other day as well. So he's come out and made a strong point about it. He wants more.
Yeah, we could be going on a lot about the MS factor, but he's not playing today. But again, as and when he does come back to play, that whole thing about batting at 4, therefore giving him more deliveries to settle down, or 5, or of course, sometimes wherever you bat, you end up being the finisher if you've got such a platform.
It's just amazing when you look at those numbers, percentage of dot ball is still way high.
Yeah.
And that's something, which as the game is evolving, I think more and more teams will be focusing on that point, because if those dot ball percentage drop down from there, you can imagine the impact it'll have on the game. So we are talking about those 300 runs totals scored very consistently. If that percentage goes down, you will probably see that above par score by 30-40 runs easily. So you're talking about 340, 350 runs, and that's something which on a good track. I think what Virat was also talking about was the fact that when you are in the position of strength, how do you capitalize on that, and what kind of approach one should have when you are batting from that position of strength, when you have plenty of wickets in hand. And that's something which is interesting to see, that they're always pushing that bar higher and higher.
And of course, when we talk about pass scores, I remember it's very easy to talk about pass scores on a ground. But I think one of you gentlemen made the point the other day that it's not just the ground, it's the opposition bowling. When Sri Lanka were playing, not the greatest attack as at the moment, 371 was a different kind of total to look at. You've got to look at the quality of India's attack when you talk about a pass score.
And an Indian attack without Bumrah. I think the biggest plus from these two matches is that an Indian attack without Bumrah, arguably a number one bowler, is still producing this kind of effect. So New Zealand would be thinking today, what is a good target? Look, how many they got bowled out 35, 36 overs first game. They haven't played 50 overs yet. So when a team is down, their first objective will be, let's bat 50 overs. Let's not waste overs. Which is why I come back to the original point. I'd like to know how they play their first 10 overs. Will they tell Guptill...
75.2 to be exact in the total series
correct, there
so
you
far.
go. So they've lost out on 25 overs. Yeah. So will they tell Guptill and Munro, you go hard, we've got batting? Or will they say, don't lose wickets early in the first 10 overs? So it's an interesting one. Look, Doug Bracewell we saw can bat. Sodhi Ferguson bowled not that much. So today they taper off a little bit after number 8.
And the fact that you've got MS, as in Mitchell Santner, in the playing 11, yes, he is sort of a bowling all-rounder, but I wouldn't think he's a batsman in the class of a Colin de Grandhomme. So that way, a little bit more on the top 6 for the moment.
Also, Zach, we saw they use Munro as the 6th bowler. He's not much of a 6th bowler against a quality batting side. So they're also a bit like India in this respect. That Jadhav is probably a better 6th bowler on this track than Munro.
I think Munro was more a desperation move than anything, than a tactical move, really.
Yeah, I think, bowling you can still maneuver, and that's something which New Zealand has always been known for. Like, you will not have out-and-out all-rounders or out-and-out bowlers as well. What was interesting to see in the last couple of games, that what is happening around in the batting lineup has affected Kane Williamson. You've not seen him play those loose shots. Like, he's someone who can see the team through, but the support which he was looking at was not there, and in some way it has affected his batting. So that's something which he has to actually come out. He should be in a zone where what's happening at the other end shouldn't be really affecting him. It's very hard. It's very hard when you're captaining the side and leading the side to achieve that, because every incident has impact on you in some way or the other, and that's something which he has to quickly adapt to. What I feel New Zealand batsmen should be doing at the top order is sticking to the same kind of formula. I think that's something which has worked for them. If you have Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson batting those middle phase, I think it will be a different kind of a day. If it will certainly be a different kind of a day if Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson sees those 15 overs, 20 overs off. Once that platform is set by 35th, 37th over, I think for any team is going to be difficult to control from that scenario. The key and the main factor for New Zealand, will they get to that stage of 35 overs with having probably 7 or 6 wickets in hand?
Also, they're used to having the likes of someone at the top. I mean, we know Guptill is one of those players, one of the, probably of all the double centurions in 50 over cricket, he's the least expected of them to get there. And yet the fact that he's gotten there, shown that he has that impact.
And when he gets in, he plays big shots. He can get that strike rate up very, very quickly. So, yeah, but I'm not sure he's a great player of slow bowling. I don't know how he is reading it. So I'd love to know what the thinking in a team is if they're not reading bowlers in the opposition. What are the batsmen thinking about? Are they saying, let's go a little conservative, roke khelte hain inko? Or are they saying, let's put pressure on them, let's attack them and see how they react? So, and there's 2 of those, by the way, it's not 1. So if your plan can't only be how do we play Kuldeep, because the plan also is how do we play Chahal.
Yes, at the moment, of course, we haven't even seen Martin Guptill tested against spin because he hadn't lasted long enough. Now, the other day I remember asking both Harsha and Zaheer Khan about Kane Williamson. Is it blasphemy to suggest any rejig in the New Zealand batting order because of the problems, because of Williamson's prowess against spin, or should we leave it alone? So, along with their opinions, we thought we'd go centre stage and find out if at Mount Maunganui the opinion might be different. Here's Simon Dool with his thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't think a rejig is required. I don't think Williamson wants to bat anywhere else but 3. What he would like to do is come to the crease when New Zealand are 45, 50, 60 for 1 instead of coming in early all the time. There hasn't been a decent partnership between Munro and Guptill for quite a long time now, so that's something New Zealand need to improve upon. If Kane Williamson walks to the crease in the 9th, 10th, 11th over, then he comes straight out when the spinners are coming into play and New Zealand are in a far better position. So I don't see a rejig. I wouldn't like to see it. I think he's one of the best number 3s in the world, and I think he should remain there.
Fair point. So we'll put that issue to rest. Simon Dool pretty unequivocal that that's where he is, one of the best number 3s in the world, and that's where he should stay. But of course, in ideal circumstances, Guptill and Munro, at least one of them, they need a platform. That's what they're not.
That's what India is getting. No? You can understand where they are. India is getting the starts. So it's amazing how often Kohli is coming in to bat with a start already in, which Williamson is not getting. So it comes back to the same point. If Munro and Guptill give them 60, then the game will be different. In much the same way the game is different because Rohit and Shikhar are giving you those runs. And would you consider saying Williamson's best player was spin bowling, have Taylor 3, Williamson 4? Or do you say, no, overreaction?
Not really. I think the point which you're making earlier about whether you want to have a conservative start or you want to stick to attacking start. So I think from New Zealand point of view, rather than changing a style of a player, which is Munro and Guptill both like to go hard after the bowling, so that's something. It's debatable. Then if you are coming to a common ground where you're saying that okay, we need to have a conservative start, then I think maybe they can look at changing the openers rather than changing their style. Yes, if you're continuing with the openers, then you stick with their style. It's easy to just kind of put a player in there and say that okay, we are looking at conservative start, and that's why Latham should be opening because he has done that in the past. But I wouldn't suggest or I don't think it will be a discussion to change the style of play of Munro or Guptill to have them bat conservatively. Like you've seen with Guptill, one of the reason he plays with hard hands is because he's always looking to go after the bowling, and that's something when you want to change that style, it's not not advisable to change it in a match scenario.
Remember, they're world number 3. There is a reason they're world number 3. I agree completely with Zach. If you've picked Munro in the side, you've picked him for a reason. If you pick Guptill, you've picked him for a reason. So just keep playing.
Yeah, and we saw how impactful Latham was in India, and it's almost as if it had an impact on India's selection of the 11 post that. So if Latham can do that in India, surely in home conditions, beautiful track at Mount Maunganui, it's not a bad suggestion.
Actually, if Munro and Guptill go conservative, it'll be a win for India already, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other factor for them to go conservative, of course, it's the Kuldeep Chahal factor, is the fact that Kohli's admitted that the run chase may be a little bit difficult with it getting slower and slower. So will they tell themselves, yes, number one, we bat 50 overs. Number two, let's not look at 350 to start with. This could just be a 280, 290 kind of a surface.
Do teams start off saying 350? Most teams, I think, say that let's
Play
check out
as
the
it
first
goes.
7 overs. And,
I think those first 4-5 overs, which we don't have the luxury while we are predicting, but they do. I think they do assess the situation quickly and pass on that message to the dressing room as well. That okay, we feel that this is 270, 280 wicket is par or 300. I think today's match, looking at, because it's played on the same surface and the surface was slowing down, the spinners did come into play the last game. It will be on the slower side, so the ball might not come onto the bat how it was coming in the previous match. So you're looking at like 20-30 runs, probably short than what the total was. So you're looking at a par score of 290 to 300. And it's important from New Zealand point of view that first they quickly assess that and just play the game till 35 overs with the mindset of having wickets in hand.
Please note that he said we do not have that access when we predict. That was aimed at you.
Fair enough. But the mantra also remains, like we talk about from India's bowling point of view, keep picking up those 2 wickets, done it every time in 2019 in the first 10 overs. From New Zealand's point of view, they'll know those numbers just as well as we do. They'll have to tell themselves, let's not lose 2 wickets in those first 10.
It's important. I think that's where the real battle lies. And as we've been talking about, how you start matters. That really sets the tone of the match. And in today's scenario, it's not only today's match. It's the third match of the series. And if you're not changing that, there is more than enough reasons for us to say that the result also is not going to be changed.
Actually, India may not mind it because in the World Cup, 9 games, you will get a day when the opposition is 75-80 for no loss after 10 overs. You will get a day like that. Then it'll be interesting to see how Kedar Jadhav bowls, Hardik bowls, spinners bowls. So once in a while, it's not that bad if the opposition gets off to a good start because it's putting pressure on you and forcing you in a different situation.
Yep, fair enough. The other day, Martin Guptill tried really hard from the first ball to get out. India finally obliged, 4th time lucky. Let's see how he goes today. For the moment, the question marks come from just one man, Joy Bhattacharya. Joy factor question for today. The big question, will we have a new winner? Come on, you people out there. Let's not sweat, win everything here. Oh, we need a new winner. Joy, what's the question for today? And here we go. Primarily known in the IPL as a crafty bowler, which versatile cricketer has topped the Ranji Trophy batting averages this year with an average of 175 from 8 matches and 7 innings? Wow, very interesting. Primarily known as a crafty bowler. Well, there you go. It's the whole talking point is about the balance of the side. This is Hardik Pandya Day. He's back. It's a batting all-rounder. India back with the balance in the side. Right? So even the question, how appropriate, has a talk about someone who brings balance into his own side. So
I think I might have a guess on that. We'll do that after we've gone off air. For
sweat.
Fear of
he or she is listening in
but
and watching.
Did you notice
It's he.
Tweeted and said, please don't block me. Remember we said jokingly you're winning it all, so you're blocked or whatever. But it is a he.
Right, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, we'll get to know more about him. But this is the time where...
I think crafty bowler is the clue there.
Fair enough. Crafty bowler is the... Okay, now, I know you're staring at me, looking at me. It's prediction
270
time.
Before you... Chalo.
Oh, that's around where I was going. But anyway, is that
so
where
you
you're
can
going?
say 269. What is there?
Okay, fair enough. 270?
270.
265 win for me.
Okay.
Oh dear, which way do I go? Do I go up or do I go down?
Depends on what kind of gambler you are. So you should going either 220 or 300.
No, I'm going upwards. 281.
Okay.
281.
281.
In tribute to VVS Lakshman. The only difference, he did it alone. In this case, it's going to be the entire New Zealand team. Remember the big factor. They've played 75.2 overs in the series so far. They'll have to bat 50 overs for their sake. India won't mind whatever they bat, but we should see 10 overs coming from the fifth bowler today. So lots and lots of things to talk about. We'll be back in the 15th over with Cricbuzz, Combox, and of course in the mid-innings. For the moment, we are looking at perhaps around 270, 280. Could the pass score change here? Lots to talk about at Mount Maunganui.